Torrent Tragedy by Raquel Zepeda Fitzgerald. When Alexa Romani published her book, she had an encounter with a cyber pirate. After Torrent master, Freddie Woodley ignored her cease and desist letter, she cursed him. This is an excerpt from Chapter 5. On the day after the deadline, Freddie received a beautiful urn. When they unboxed it, they placed it on his credenza. After that, it could not be moved and seemed to be glued to it. He waved it off because it was truly beautifully adorned. In fact, the face on it looked very much like him, beard and all. Frederick had decided to grow one after his surgery. At noon that day, he asked Steve how business was doing. He checked every day at noon how many downloads they had done in order to check their cash flow. Next morning around 10 a.m. Steve walks into his office to tell him about the surge they just had in downloads of that new book. Right before Steve came in, he heard a sound like something had been dropped into the urn sitting on his credenza. When Steve looked at him, he gasped and said, "What happened to your teeth?" "What do you mean? Your tooth? You're missing a tooth," he said. "That's crazy." But then he could feel that he was missing one front tooth. Freddie got on the phone immediately to his dentist's office for an emergency appointment. The next day his teeth looked fine. He was wearing a fake temporary tooth. At noon, Steve ran into Freddie's office telling them that they just had a surge of about 20 downloads of the I Sorceress book. As he walked back to his desk, he heard some noise coming from Frederick's office, like something hitting a metal plate. Frederick could feel about 20 of his teeth being pulled out of his mouth all at once. "That sound," he said to himself. "It's the sound of my teeth in that urn." He turned around and tried to open it, but it would not budge. It just sat there like it was glued to his credenza, and the face of the man on it was laughing at him. This could not be true. Curses are not real. Sorceresses are not real. He decided to let Steve go home early. He could not allow anyone to see him like this. He had to read the book. Maybe he could send her an email. Tearing his office apart, he looked for the letter that Alexa Romani had sent him. Thank you for listening to this excerpt of Torrent Tragedy. Torrent Tragedy is a fun and imaginative novel and the first installment in the Nocturnal series. For more information, go to rzfbooks.com.